Ghost Coat Magazine welcomes in Skye from Sumo Cyco. How are you doing, Skye?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today, Keith. I
It's,
appreciate it.
yeah, it's great to see you. It's been a minute. I think we saw you guys last in person when I was in New York City a few years ago, and killer show. Always one of my favorite live bands, and I'm really stoked to you. It's almost like about 2 weeks out, a little less than 2 weeks out before Initiation comes out on Napalm Records May 7th. By the time people see this, it probably will be out, but I am really happy for you. I know you guys work all the time tirelessly on your art, not just the music, but everything around the band. So, how has life been for you guys during this crazy lockdown era?
Yeah, wow. What a roller coaster, eh? For so many of us, starting off with complete confusion and not knowing, what's going to happen in the world to kind of settling in and having a little more time on our hands. And now it feels like there's just like so much to do that we're just trying to keep up. So with release around the corner. So for me, it's been, a lot of ups and downs. And it went from like candle making and having like new hobbies and selling them on our online store to try to keep our band alive to now just feeling, really lucky that we have such focus and such awesome fans to help us launch this record. So we've been going crazy trying to release music videos and tried to do everything we can to keep the fans involved while we can't be out on the touring circuit.
Awesome. You are one of, I would say, I do some stuff, not just in journalism, but music marketing and social media. And I feel like a lot of bands are not good at connecting with their fans either on social media or elsewhere. And I always feel like being a fan of your band is like getting a whole experience because it's not just the music, it's not just the artwork, it's not just you, it's all of you, and it's whatever you can put out. So I have always been very impressed from afar about how you guys run your band and just connect with fans and sort of figure out what they want and give it to them, which is rare, honestly, in this day and age in the business.
Well, I appreciate that, Keith, a lot because I consider the way that we kind of approach the industry is a bit from like a bird's eye view, whereas I think some people are more like first person trying to get through the maze. And we do, having the experience that I have had in this industry since I was, a young kid, I feel like I have all those kind of like ideas in every aspect of the business, like you mentioned, from social media ideas to like music video ideas to merch ideas. So for us and for me, it's like an all-encompassing kind of entrepreneurial project than just purely just like playing some songs. It feels like I love to think of every single 360 degrees around a fan and how to immerse them in our world.
Right on. That Etsy store is just as important as that Twitter account or that gram. And I think that's a lesson a lot of bands, especially veteran bands, are struggling with right now. Like, how do I keep my band alive? And you know this, you guys are road dogs. You have toured so much and so hard over the years. And it's got to be a challenge this whole time off the road. On one hand, it might be good. You got some time at home, some family time, but also, my heart goes out to you with the loss of income, your crew, whoever you work with, your bus drivers, your tour merch slingers, venues. It's been a ripple effect on our ecosystem in not a good way.
100%. And if there's anybody out there listening who has a couple bucks to spare, I mean, please like buy a band t-shirt of your favorite indie band and check on those local venues and see if they have crowdfunding campaigns going, because we want all that to be back when we come back and start touring again. So it has been confusing, and especially at the beginning of before we kind of got in a way used to how this was kind of going to happen. It was like, okay, what are we doing? Like, how are we going to make an income? And we kind of turned and pivoted and said, okay, we're making a calendar, we're making candles, we're making a home collection with pillows, and figuring out any way we could hustle. And thank goodness our fans have been super supportive and there and wanting to help. And I think having that direct connection and really being honest with them and saying like, hey guys, like, we're hurting this year if we don't like sell any merch on our store, like we can't go out on the road. And just being completely upfront and honest, there's more than enough support that can be there if you just kind of open yourself up and ask. You'd be surprised at what people will do if you just say like, hey, this is where I'm at right now, like if you guys have a few spare bucks, it really helps us out, helps independent bands out a lot. And thank goodness that there's some awesome fans out there that really do care so much about the music that so many of us are making, in this time, that they want us to still be there when this whole thing ends. So got to give it up to the fans for that, and I appreciate them for being there for me and the band this whole COVID situation past
Right
year.
on. Yeah, right on. It's so important, and all the groundwork you laid for years, just connecting with them, has paid off and continues to be, fruitful. But also, again, I don't know if anybody ever took I don't know if anyone will ever take a show for granted ever again, or a radio appearance ever again, or a meet and greet. If you, not you, but any band will never take these things for granted ever again, because anybody who wants to give you their attention more than ever now, we need it. I'm a big fan. I know she's somewhat controversial, but I'm a big fan of Amanda Palmer, and she has a book called The Art of Asking, where
Yeah.
bands and artists of any stripe should not be ashamed to say, hey, if you want me to survive and continue to make this art that you like, you need to help me help you. And it is a symbiotic relationship. And I think it's clearly part of your lasting success as a band. You've been around for quite a bit now.
Yeah, no, I always love to remind myself, whenever you get caught up in like, oh, how many views did we get, or how many spins on Spotify, to remember that none of that is going to matter if you don't have an actual personal relationship with your fans. Because at the end of the day, those are people that, when you give that extra attention to someone at the merch table, or write a comment back to someone who sends you a personal message, those things have a big impact, more than I think people know. And to me, that's been something we've tried to do as much as we can, is that interaction, and making sure that people feel like they're not just a number that we're trying to sell to, that we want to have that, like you said, a symbiotic relationship where you guys help make the show, help make the band what it is, and then we are able to give back to you in the way that we do. And yeah, it's, to me, feels very natural, but that's also because I've grown up, on the internet, and making YouTube videos since I was a teen. So it feels very natural to be that kind of, let people into my world. There's no mystery here. We're telling everybody how it goes, our struggles. And I think that sometimes, in the past, there has been that kind of like mystique around bands. And I think sometimes that gets romanticized to the point where bands are almost hurting themselves because they're just not putting themselves out there in a way that could probably help them, connect better with their fan base.
Right on. And then conversely, of course, you have, I think we're all a little guilty of this, that we build an identity around the artist or the band we love the most. And then we find out that they're not who they said they were, or they have some problematic issues. And then their world is shattered. So while music is everything to me, it's literally the most important thing in my life outside of staying alive and doing adult things that I have to do to adult and stay, above water. But at the same time, also, you can be a fan and really, really love a band. I'm going to sound like Almost Famous, the movie right here, but it is not silly. It is not a silly thing, but also you're also a person. Artists are also people. We're all fallible. The internet is awesome, and it has been good to you. It has been good to Ghost Cult, but it's also challenging to navigate. So how do you take breaks sometimes? How do you navigate sort of the rough and tumble of it?
Yeah, it's like any, they say there's always too much of a good thing can be bad for you. It's like you always have to have balance in your life. And I think just like how people, I think they identify a certain addiction is when it's affecting your life. That's when you know that you're addicted to something. I think it's the same with social media. When you start thinking about like the comment that someone wrote on your post, and you're in the shower and you can't get it out of your head, maybe it's a good time to like take a little break and realize that like that isn't everything that life is a comment on some YouTube channel. Like, get outside, walk your dog, see other things in the world, and realize like, it's good to check in with yourself and see where you're feeling and where you're going. And sometimes for me, that means I have to put things out into the world and not necessarily like read everything that's coming back to me. And sometimes I got to go, you know what? I just feel like today I'm just going to not read what people say, but just, say hi to everybody who's interested. And that's it. That's all I can give today. And that's okay. So yeah, it is, everything's a balance. And to me, social media and the internet is the same.
True that. And as a marketing professional, a social media expert myself, I tell even my clients to take breaks. If you want to just manage your brand and be, some self-care is sometimes putting up a little bit of distance, but it's hard because also you want that involvement. So it is a balance, like you said, very well said, actually. Let's talk about initiation. Initiation, I feel, is like, what, you guys have always done a really good, first of all, again, amazing live band. I hope shows come back and tours come back and festivals come back so you can get on a stage and do what you were meant to do, which is jump around and be crazy and make music live. That's what I really, it shows in everything you do that's like your home. But I feel like Initiation is one of the first records that really captures that live spirit. Not how it was made, but how it sounds. Like, it sounds very in your face and fresh, and almost feels like immersive to just listen to the record a few times, getting ready to chat. And I really dig this record. It's a lot of fun, and we've had a very hard time, and I think we need some fun, heavy music right now.
100%. We're on the same page, Keith, because that's my thoughts exactly. Is we've always been that band that isn't afraid of tackling the tough topics. And man, have I gone through, my own ups and downs through this past year. But to me, it's always important to have that element of hope and fun and light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter, what goes on in your life, how many obstacles you have to overcome, it's about getting up when you fall down. And I think that that's, to me, what, if I could say what I hope for the future is, I hope for more fun and rock and roll and color and friendship. And I just want to be in those rooms where we just have like a ton of fun. And I'm like, how do I write a soundtrack for that with the experiences that I've had in the past year? So it's like this really interesting juxtaposition of, going through the roller coaster that it has been the last couple of years. And some of the songs were written pre-pandemic. So that also brings another, I think, high. Then it comes down to the lows where you hear me writing about, bad news and being a bystander. And then we come back up for air at some points in the record. So to me, it's taking people on a bit of the journey that at least I've been through. But I hope throughout the whole thing, once this time passes, that we can all, jump around and just really celebrate the simple things like being together in a room and rocking out. And that's, I think, the hope that has kept me going, is remembering that one day will come back and will be so amazing. It'll be so much fun, and it'll bring us all closer, I think, than we ever have been before, because we're going to really realize that stuff we've kind of taken for granted. And and having the opportunity to be together and just be in the moment and play music is something really magical. And to me, it's my favorite place to be. It's the only place that I can truly live in that exact moment. Every other time in my life, I'm always thinking about something that happened or wanting something to happen in the future. But when you're in a club playing music you love, rocking out, I mean, that nothing gets better than that to me.
True. And as soon as it's safe and with everybody's permission, I'm a hugger. I'm going to hug everybody that allows me to hug them in a safe and respectful manner. I'm going to hug everybody to ridiculous levels. I don't, like, that's going to be a thing. As soon as we
Yeah.
can
Oh,
safely
totally.
hug everybody, I'm going to, all the time, every
I
time.
feel you on that, Keith. I'm missing some human interaction, that's for sure.
Right? I feel like some of us are gonna just have to have a moment where we give a high five and just be like, hold on a second, I need a minute, man.
Yeah.
I need to compose myself to be able to accept this high five, because it's been hard. It's been hard. Like a show, just me being a lifer in music. I played in bands for a long time. I've been a music journalist for 15 plus years, and I went to shows like 5 days a week. And I feel like that's probably not gonna happen ever again. I'm definitely gonna still go to a lot of shows, but it's just not gonna happen to that level again, because I think our industry is gonna also change as a result. And but I hope it doesn't lessen people's desire to go to shows. I love live streams, and I love the internet, and I love YouTube a lot, but I don't think that these things are a replacement for the stage, or that interaction between fans in a room, like you said.
Yeah.
They got to be like Hamilton, in the room where it happens, the
Yes.
crowd and the stage, and you become one. And I don't think that can ever be replaced.
Yeah. I love that you reference Hamilton, because I'm a huge fan of musicals.
I know, and as I'm a refugee from the theater kids life, and my whole similar, not too dissimilar, where I also had like a whole. I feel like I always wanted to talk to you about this. Musical theater to me is like a gateway to like metal and heavy metal, and always should have been. And some of the best, like Alice Cooper, Meatloaf, right to Lady Gaga, right to Hamilton, right to Iron Maiden. To me, there's very little delineation for me. I know that you also came from that background and all these different multi talents, all these multi hyphens that you have with you. But yeah, like I can't imagine it was different for you. It was the same. Like, oh, this is all the same.
Oh yeah, it's how I got started on the stage. I mean, it gave me my love for performing, and then that just evolved into like going the music route and performing on stage. But I think I wouldn't have those, that comfortability on stage without having the experience doing musical theater as a young kid, and I grew up on that stuff, knowing like every single word to Les Mis was like my all-time favorite musical, and you know, my band make fun of me for it, but I completely love musicals, and it made me the person I am today for sure. So I can see the connections 100%, even though some people can't, band members.
Well, that's how, can't be for everybody. Fun fact between me and you, I believe there's a new version of West Side Story coming to the movies this summer. I'm
Oh
all about
wow.
this.
Oh cool.
I'm
I'm
all
in.
about this.
I'm in.
I'm
I will
all
watch.
about Bernstein and Sondheim. I'm there. And I was one of the musicals I never got to be in, but everybody wants to be in West Side Story. Everybody.
Oh yeah, I remember specifically my dad singing, but replacing Maria with Deirdre, which is my mom's name, on the piano, trying to serenade her. Oh, Deirdre. I just, I would be as a kid, I'd be like, Dad, that's gross. Stop singing
Aw,
love songs to mom. And now I think it's the cutest thing in the world.
it is adorable. That's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that. Similarly, if you want to talk about just kind of a musical chameleon style stuff, is that what's great about this record is you really lean into everything. It's always been sort of hinted at about how you guys love to bend genres and incorporate your pop sensibilities, but now it's like fully all out. And I love it actually. It really works. It seems like it's not just mashed together, it's done with care, it's composed thoughtfully. And I just love how like different, sections of songs go from thing to thing, and it's not jarring, it's seamless, which honestly a lot of bands struggle with. There's a lot of bands that like to, oh look, we're progressive, we're metal, we're punk, we're pop, but it's hard to do them all and pull them all off well.
Thank
So I
you.
like that.
I really
I like
appreciate
this
that.
record for that.
Thank you. I my my guitarist Matt brought up a point when we played a show in Auckland, New Zealand, and the reviewer who came to see us didn't really quite get it, but had the best way of describing our band. He's like, it feels like each member should be in a completely different band because we're playing simultaneously, like a punk part, a dancehall part, a screamo part, and each band member is completely pulling off simultaneously a completely different genre. But to us, it completely fits, and I think that's the difference. I think that defines Sumo Cyco from some other bands that bend genres is we don't just drop into like here's the dancehall part and then here's the metal part. It's like we're playing metal guitars with the dancehall beat at the same time, so it's a lot more integrated, and for me it's a lot of fun, and Matt does a great job as our producer and co-writer to really try to switch things up. And I think so many times when you're writing a song, I find with my pop training that you're almost trained to go to the most natural place all the time of like, oh, this progression just feels like it should go here, or this rhyme should almost be like, train rhymes with brain. And it's just so simple. But when you start thinking outside the box of like, what is the last thing I would rhyme with this? Or what is the last thing I would think to sing over a part that's like, screeching metal guitars? What should Skye be doing, like a Nicki Minaj like vocal over this? Like really just think outside the box, I think is like really how we enjoy creating music, is really trying to throw monkey wrenches in there. But like you said, trying to make it work where it doesn't feel so jarring, that it actually like feels like it's our own meld of styles, rather than like feeling like you're going from A to B really fast and getting whiplash.
Right on. It needs to make sense for the song. And I got to give you some credit. Obviously, a lot of people know you for your vocal abilities and your great melodies, but I got to say, you spit some crazy bars on this record. And you always do live, and you have done in the past. I think people know you're a very skillful, wordy and verbose rapper in a positive sense, but like you really drop some fire on this one. And it's raw. I love it.
Man, I need you to be around to give me a confidence boost once in a while. You're so kind. I appreciate it. But yeah, to me, the reason I started Sumo Cyco is to feel free, to be able to experiment with my voice, to be able to not be confined by, a certain type of singing that I, should do. And I love experimenting with my voice. And to this day, I'm always trying to figure out what else can I do with this thing. So for me, rhythm and I love lyrics. I almost look at it as a challenge sometimes. To if somebody hands me a piece of music, it's like I got to fill every single part with my vocal, because I just love writing and love singing so much that Matt always has to pull me back and say, like, it's okay to let the music breathe here, Skye. You're gonna probably need this breath when we play live. I'm like, all right. Okay, I'll leave a bar here, but I'll go back right to it. So it's a lot of fun for me. I love experimenting, going from screams to fast rap parts, and really trying to see what we can create that it sounds different, especially like coming from somebody like me, who maybe you wouldn't think would go right to rap or go right to screaming, and then I just mash it all into my pop sensibilities and see if I can find the hooks in there with all that kind of chaos going on.
And I think anybody who's followed the band for a while will not be disappointed how heavy the record is. There are fantastic riffs, great grooves, kind of some parts that reminded me of Dillinger Escape Plan on the guitar. So Mike will be thrilled to know that that stuff is totally noticeable and in there and works and flows. So yeah, it's a really great eclectic mix, and it's super heavy. No doubts about that. It's not like you guys turned over a leaf and did it, went a fully different direction, which you could do if you needed to or you wanted to. Why can't you? I know, it's hard. You take a lot of time building a fan base, and then that fan base has expectations. So luckily you have sort of brought them along with you along the way to say, hey, anything is possible with this band. But some bands can't take a risk, and it's tough. So I appreciate that. It seems like the Sumo crew, you're not afraid of anything.
Yeah, no, it's I feel like it's a really more curated record than our previous efforts, because we did have a few stops and starts with the process, having starting off a crowdfunding campaign in 2018, and then being so busy with touring that we didn't get to the record as quickly as we wanted to, so we had kind of like some breaks in there, and then the signing with Napalm happened, which also made us kind of, okay, we got to restart, get Napalm on board, look at the record again. Is it ready to be released this way? Okay, write a few more songs. Then COVID hits. Then you're like, okay, we got more time on our hands. We write more, sure. And until this record, we literally had more songs than we've ever written for a record before. So it was really coming down to picking the best of the best, and really taking a step back every so once in a while and saying, okay, how does this whole thing feel as a piece? And do we feel like we need more representation of ourselves in this direction or this direction? Do we feel like there's enough peaks and valleys? And we asked ourselves that question more times in making this record than we ever have before. And so I think that that's hopefully makes for a better, more perfected, version of what we want to create. And I like to think that as the years have gone by, we've become even more comfortable and more natural in how we write. And really, Matt has become a better producer and engineer than he ever has before. He's really stepped up his game. And I think that also we got to give credit to Kane Shirko, who is a producer and co-writer on a couple songs on the record. Working with him not only was great to get two great songs out of it that made the record, but watching him and how he worked also kind of inspired us to look at things in the way of like an outside producer perspective, and also gave Matt a few tips on the production side, which not every producer is cool with someone watching you over your shoulder at every move and every preamp that you put on something. But Kane was cool enough to work alongside Matt in that way, so that Matt walked away with even more ideas on how to break rules in production and engineering to make things sound even bigger and more impressive. So I got to give credit to those guys. They've really helped this record become what it is.
Awesome. I don't want to lose the opportunity to talk about the Bystander video. Not only is the track a banger, it's got this wacky Camilo Cabello call out in it, I'm sure. And I don't know pop music as well as I know everything else in music, but not only is the song a banger, the video is banana balls. It's cray cray. It is like a weird, like almost reminded me of the old Bjork videos from the MTV heyday, right? It's crazy. Let's talk. And then the album artwork seems to come from Bystander a little bit too. So I would like that image of someone falling, you, an
Yeah.
angel, I don't know what it is, a spirit falling. Talk about this video and sort of your how this vision came to be.
Yeah. So the original concept for initiation was to have four kind of what we call our alternate universe, which I call Psycho City, and it's a massive metaphor for everything I write about in Sumo Cyco, but in an alternate universe slash comic book world. And every record has a theme. Lost in Psycho City was like an Alice in Wonderland introduction to this world. Second one was about the train that runs through Psycho City called Opus Mar. And the third record, Initiation, is about four of the factions or gangs that kind of run Psycho City. And you can take a quiz on our website, just as a side note, if you want to know what club you belong to. But I was integrating this concept in the first few videos for this record. And then the COVID hit, and I realized I can't invite all my friends over to act in a million different parts. So how do I take these ideas and transfer them into this video, as well as, depict what the video means to me and being a bystander and watching the world as we all have through our screens and kind of feeling helpless watching things happen in this world that we're supposed to be responsible and stay in our houses, and everything's kind of going cray cray outside of our windows, and so I've put in a lot of kind of metaphors with the house floating, feeling isolated, looking out that window and all this stuff happening, like you said, banana balls. So spiders, giant spiders, having, fires and earthquakes and explosions, and to the point where I just get sick of it all and just jump out the window. And also there's all these meanings of the character in that video is a character by the name of Glory, and she's at that point kind of a teenager, and then why I kind of set it in that 90s, the old tech, the old computers, old phones. And if anyone notices, there's all these eye symbols on the wall, which is another gang called Malice and Company. So through this story, she's kind of realizing she doesn't fit with her family's gang, and she kind of feels like she needs to be off on her own. So another way of escape, getting through that window. And I think it relates a little bit to, everyone growing up and kind of realizing that maybe their family or what they've been taught throughout their childhood years, not everything they agree with what their family does, and finding your own identity and your own way through life. And so like I said, a lot of metaphor that has to do with everything I write about and think about, and also kind of integrate the Mouse and Company gang, and represented her as a not so sorority, which is all the pink colors that pop in. So a lot of gold and a lot of pink, which is those two gang colors. So not to get too deep, because I could go on forever with this stuff, but that's a little bit about where the concept came from. And everything was shot upstairs in our church here, using just a couple walls put together and some green screens, and came together pretty well. And I experimented myself with all the CGI and learned a lot through the process. There was a few kind of crazy, intensive, hardworking months just typing away on the computer and Googling stuff, trying to figure out how it works. But it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I've actually seen that documentary where you guys talk about your band House, and it's incredible, and all the stuff you do in a DIY sense for a signed band, how hard you work and everything is very admirable. And I kind of feel like we also need like a George R. Martin, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter book about the houses and the clubs and the gangs, just to decipher it all. As we wind this down, obviously it's tough. You can't go out and tour or have a record release show traditionally yet, and hand a record over to somebody and do the meet and greets and I don't know what that looks like in the future, but what do you have planned in terms of the release? Do you guys have done or considered doing a live stream, some kind of fan listen through? Any plans like that coming up?
Yeah, so unfortunately right now, where we live, we're still in a very strict lockdown, where it was actually in the latest press release that came out, they said no live stream events, because even to get together with a band and a few crew members isn't legal right now in Ontario. We have one of the strictest lockdowns in North America right now. So that kind of sucks. puts a little damper on doing something like that, which I know the fans were maybe hopeful that could happen. But I still try. I'm still putting out, Matt and I are still doing our some acoustic versions. I've got a new piano that I got last Christmas. I've been learning the songs piano style. So trying to put all that stuff out on social media for you guys. We will definitely have some live hangs. We're going to announce that soon, of getting online there with our fans and at least chatting about the record, answering a ton of questions, having some events along that line. We also have a new video that will be dropping 2 days before the record drops called Bad News, which I'm heavily into the editing of right now. And I gotta say, it is definitely more on the ridiculous side of Sumo Cyco. So get ready for some laughs and some fun with that video. Lots of color, but I had a lot of fun working out that concept recently. So we're just going to keep putting ourselves out there, doing everything we can to keep in touch with our fans. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that day will come and we'll be out playing live soon. But until that day, we're just going to do what we can. We're not waving the white flag yet. We're just going to keep, put in all the effort we can to let those fans know that we appreciate their support and hope they enjoy the record.
Right on. We are here for all the ridiculousness possible with you guys, and in the best possible way. I always like to end these interviews on a wild card question, so I hope you'll humor me. I try not to stump people, but sometimes we do. We'll see how it goes. Instead of the desert island disc scenario, I like to do the spaceship playlist. So let's say Elon and Grimes ring you up on the celly and they're like, we got a seat for you on the spaceship. We're going tomorrow. What are the 5 records that Skye takes with her for space travel?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love space. So that would be like a sick trip. I would love to listen to music in space. That would be mind blowing. But if I had to pick like my all-time faves to bring with me, I think I would go with like Tragic Kingdom from No Doubt. Probably do, let's see. That's like an all-time favorite. Have to bring that. But I'm really liking anything from Enter Shikari, like the Minesweep, their band out of UK. Very kind of reminds me a little bit of like space sounds and kind of ethereal, kind of like floating through star feeling, but also a lot of rock and roll. So maybe do like the Minesweep by Enter Shikari, then do something like Shape of Punk to Come by Refused, because that's like one of my all-time faves as well. Maybe do like OK Computer, Radiohead. And what's that? 4?
4.
So one more. What's the record I've been listening to most this year is probably our probably our own record, so that doesn't count. But last one, oh man, it's a tough one. But maybe I would do the band that helped inspire Sumo Cyco, which is Skindred, and their first record, Babylon.
Amazing. I just interviewed Benji. He's wonderful. And I'm super pumped for new Skindred coming soon. So yeah, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Those are 5 really great records. Skye, has been awesome hanging out with you. Thank you for hanging out with Ghost Cult. I'm so pumped for Initiation coming out on Napalm Records. Congratulations. Be safe. Hopefully Ontario relaxes a little. People wash your hands, wear your mask, get vaccinated if you can. And we'll get you out on the road where you belong as soon as possible.
Thanks so much, Keith. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate all the kind words and supporting and spreading the word about our band. We're still getting out there, and there's still so many people that we're realizing have no idea we exist. So I appreciate it so much. Spreading the word out there and doing what you do for music in general is great. So keep it up, and hopefully we'll see you one day in the future at a show.